We were talking to Myles Garrett and the possibility of a trade. So I looked up just the betting odds on it. Where are they currently? And not only are the Commanders and Eagles the favorites to land him in a potential trade, but they are more likely to have Myles Garrett on their team next year than the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So that's rough. I guess I would rather have him go to Washington because Philadelphia is so loaded already. It would push them over the top. It would make them back-to-back champions. I don't want them, sniffing at a three-peat for sure. And I guess it'd be cool to watch a rookie. If I got to pick one of them, it'd be cool to watch the guy Jaden Daniels get one. I don't know though. That's tough. Now the Bills are fourth, the Lions fifth at plus 650. So there are a lot of teams with odds. The Packers at 1,200, the Chiefs at plus 1,400. I don't see the Cowboys anywhere on these odds, and that is unfortunate. ESPN suggesting the Cowboys do an early extension for DaRon Bland. This is Aaron Schatz in his ESPN Insider NFL stuff. Says there have been some questions about extending Bland going into the final year of his rookie contract after he missed much of 24 with injuries. Frankly, he could be a bit overrated after his performance in 2023 because there's a lot of randomness involved in getting 5 pick sixes. Still, Bland is strong in coverage. Even without any picks in 24, he had an above-average coverage DVOA in his 7 appearances. Extending Bland would lock down the cornerback spot from Trevon Diggs and allow Dallas to add some cap space, actually. Spotrac puts his value at 23.7. They suggest 4 years and $94.5 million in new money for DaRon Bland. I think if you got a player who's pretty good in coverage and goes and gets the ball like he does and can make plays with it, that is definitely the kind of guy that I want to pay. But I don't feel like he's one of the elite corners in the game. So I could see this either way from a team-building perspective, especially after a year off of the injury. But he's one of those other guys that's 3 years in and, is eligible now for an extension. Would you guys do it right now?
I think I would. And I'm going to ask you this question, guys. He's better than Diggs, isn't he?
Yes.
Diggs is a $19 million a year player for you.
It's an interesting one because Diggs' contract is technically very manageable. You could get out of it now before a roster bonus.
Total value of it is not. I just looked it up I was curious. It looks like to me it's $97 million of total value, 19.4 a year. Total guarantee of 42.3. Fully guaranteed is 33.3. And it's you carry it till 2029.
Yeah, if he's better or if I think Diggs could still have a better season than DaRon Bland. I would love to have them both, but I don't know if the Cowboys look at it like that or if we can only pay one. I think he'd probably go with Bland at this point because he's a little bit younger and less injury prone, less catastrophic injuries.
Yeah, there was a time in my life I could have played this game whereas you start taking the top cornerbacks in the league and just going by their salary and go down until you say he's better, he's better, he's better, he's not better. That kind of thing. But, I mean, I don't see all these games like I would, but I wonder on this list, you look at I mentioned Diggs, Marshawn Lattimore, kind of in the same boat with Diggs. This Tyson Campbell from the Jaguars, kind of the same boat. Ladarius Sneed from the Titans, same boat. Jarius Johnson, we talked about him. Jalen Johnson from the Bears, a $19 million corner there. There was some talk about him potentially being, traded, and we're like, oh yeah, we're interested, but it's going to cost. Yeah, I just kind of wonder if he's better than those guys. Just the guys that I named that we're, like I said, I used to know all these guys in the league because of being in pro personnel.
I mean, do you want to pay anybody that's not lockdown, tackling, and ball skills when you're talking about $23 million? I think there's a conversation to be had there.
Yeah.
But right now, they have a path to being a great defense. I think if you had Micah, Diggs, and Bland healthy at the same time, you're in a hell of a situation to give yourself a chance to be a great takeaway defense.
He's the type of player you would think you could get to kind of capitulate on the number if you're willing to get at it early, because he was not a high draft pick. It's not like he's made much money to this point. He just saw how quickly and how flimsy this thing can be when you break your foot and you miss majority of the season. Is he the type of player that you could come with a below market offer that he would just be like, you know what, give me the security and whatever the Diggs deal was, I'll just take that. You say no, Broadus?
I look across the field and I see who I'm playing with, and I'm saying absolutely not.
Yeah, but you look across the field and you see who you're playing with, and you can see just how quickly, thank God, Diggs was able to get his deal before he got injured.
No question.
You just got injured. Yeah. You haven't made that much money. Do you want to risk one more season where you get injured again and all of a sudden now you're a free agent? You haven't made that much money,
I think they could sacrifice Diggs. I think they could sacrifice Diggs. I mean, just my personal thought of if you look at the player, I would much rather have Bland than I would Diggs.
Me too.
And at $19 million, sure, absolutely.
Oh, $19 million for sure. Yeah, at $19 million, that's what I'm saying. You come to him with that deal and say, Bland, you sign that.
Yeah, if you come close to what that number is, then yeah, you could probably get him to. But if I'm him, I'm like, he's not better than me.
I'm not trying to wait and go for 23 when 19's in my hand. You know,
yeah.
I don't know why. I guess a lot of these players listen to agents and they say, well, they're probably going to pay you anyway, or this is worst case scenario. But man, I would be the guy wanting to sign early to secure the generational wealth. And then if a third contract is there for the taking, maybe we could get greedy at that point.
Yeah. You get a guy like Awuzie. I'm just looking at numbers. Awuzie with the Titans. Yeah, he makes $12 million a year. You know, to me, Bland all day.
Yeah.
So find that between 19 and say 14.
Well, the projections like in the mid-20s.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that's basically resetting the market. Like Jalen Ramsey at $24 million right now. Pat Surtain, same thing. Those are the highest paid dudes.
Absolutely.
Bland, take 19, take 20. Now you're like fifth, sixth highest paid corner. And you have the security and the peace of mind.
I would take more than Diggs if that
Agent
was the
man's
case.
telling you the cap went up 10%.
Yeah.
You know, you got to take what's owed to you at this point. Since that other contract has been signed, the cap has gone up $40 million. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to continue to advance this, and we're looking at a percentage of the cap instead of that raw number with how this thing's accelerating so quickly. How will the Cowboys replace Zach Martin is a very interesting topic. Brock Hoffman last year, good enough versus bad defenders, struggled against good players.
Yeah.
Could he figure it out? Cooper Beebe, I do like the idea, guys, of drafting a center at 44 and playing Beebe at right guard if that's possible, or drafting a right guard. I'm flexible there.
Go for the guard before the center.
Really?
You're going to have a better chance of grabbing it. If you're interested in picking a lineman at 44 that way, go ahead and draft the center there. Or actually, draft the guard to play and leave BB at center.
Yeah, I think if you want an offensive lineman, to me, Broadus, the guy that is most interesting to me in round one, if he falls to you, and plenty of mocks have him going just before you pick at 12, but I think Brugler mentioned him to us yesterday, the 20-year-old out of Missouri, Armand Membu, who is a right tackle, who many believe he can play tackle, but also could be an awesome guard. And I think the athleticism is impressive. He says explosive, controlled and pass pro, finisher in the run game, and he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
He could play tackle or guard, plug and play immediately, right guard right there. I'd be totally down for that.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing about him is he didn't give up a sack in 416 dropbacks this year.
Wow.
He's just allowed 9 hurries.
In the SEC.
Yeah, but
why haven't we heard more about him up to this point?
He's a much better pass rusher, a pass blocker than he is a run blocker, and he'll come off the ball. He doesn't have sustain. He really lacks sustain as a run blocker. And I know we've talked about, and the reason I haven't brought him up a bunch is because when you start to talk about, hey, they need an offensive line, need to run the ball. I think if you're one of these tackles or guards that doesn't have the ability to sustain blocks, you're probably not going to be good enough for that. You know,
how coachable is that?
Everything's coachable. Everything's coachable, but your ability to strain and finish blocks is something that's in you. You know, where's your ability to get into your guy, get your hands inside, and push these guys? You know, and I think he's an outstanding pass blocker. I have my questions about him as a run blocker, and that's why to me I see him being a lot higher guy. I have him as a second round. I don't have a first round grade on my board. I would rather have somebody like Banks, the Texas kid, over this type of a player. If you're talking about, there's not a nasty side to this guy's game. He is a very much a control player. But you could, there's things you could. There's some offensive linemen that you think they aren't very nasty guys, and then they kind of develop that. But this is a guy that doesn't have that kind of desire to bury somebody at the whistle. But he could pass block all day. That's something he's got the ability to.
So is it a prerequisite that you're getting a guy who's going to get after it in the run game at right guard?
Yeah, because what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and take one of these guards. I'm going to take, for example, I'm going to take the Alabama kid if he was there.
Booker
is who I would take, because what I know at Booker, Tyler Booker is 6'5", he's 325 pounds. He's massive. He moves well. He can play both guard spots. When he comes off the ball, he gets movement right off it.
And you're doing that at 44 or 12?
I'm trying to do it. He's probably going to be gone before I pick at 44. But then I'm thinking about, okay, how about Donovan Jackson from Ohio State? Here's another guy, 6'4", 320 pounds. There might be a possibility of him being there at 44. This guy played left tackle. He played left guard. I mean, you watch him play. He's got the same kind of mentality that I just talked about with Booker. I mean, he's a high IQ player. You see they try and run stunts on him. He's right there. He picks it up, whether he's a tackle or a guard. Yeah, he brings a physical presence to the game. Those are the types of guys I'm trying to get inside.
So you don't like the internal options of a TJ Bass or an Awesome Richards, Brock Hoffman?
I think that when you look
serviceable.
at Brock Hoffman for 5-6 games is great. Brock Hoffman for 17 games, no thanks.
No, once he got up against the better competition the season went on.
No thanks. Yeah.
It was not what you want, but he is a body there.
Yeah.
So at least you have a guy and you don't feel like, oh my gosh, we literally don't have someone here. But you would obviously love to upgrade.
No.
And you just heard all the coaching staff, the assistant coaches when they were talking.
Toughness,
physicality, violence. So a guy like Membu that I was talking about from Missouri, maybe not. They might not like the cut of his jib.
Yeah, he's more of a get in the way on pass pro guy than a go out. No,
he's a really good. Yeah, he just does not have that nasty side to him that you want to be playing inside and be moving. You're in a division that has these big defensive tackles. You've got to find a way to be able to control the inside. The Commanders have big guys, the Eagles have big guys, the Giants have big guys. You're in a division that you have to play with some power inside.